And welcome to our time.
I'm in pain.
Why? What's wrong?
Oh, I've got lower back pain.
Look, Cassandra's here today so she can sort you out.
Oh, can she?
Yes, she
can.
can.
The pain's gone away already.
She'll help with that.
Sue's here today as well.
Sue's back.
And we have book club, but we also have the return of another fantastic person who we've talked to before, but this time we're talking to about something that everybody absolutely loves at Christmas time here in South Australia, in fact, nationwide. Welcome, Brian Gilbertson.
Welcome, Brian.
Howdy. We will?
To talk about
Yes.
pageant.
Yes, the Credit Union Christmas pageant is not long off now.
No, it's
not. And the amazing thing is, Brian, it's been going for how many years?
83rd year of the pageant this year, so
You don't look like
1933.
you're any more than 84.
Thank you, Malcolm. That's
all right.
really kind of you.
Pleasure.
That's...
Just give us a bit of the history that you can stay, you're allowed. Just give us a bit of a history because it had a most interesting commencement, didn't it?
Yes, well, I suppose you go back from 1933 to the Magic Cave, which was in the previous century, in the 1896, I think it was. And I don't think without that they could have done what they did in 1933. So Sir Edward Hayward...
department store?
Yeah, well, Sir Edward Hayward came back from overseas and said, why don't we have this parade? He'd seen it in Toronto and thought that the family business could do similar. But it was in the middle of a depression, so you can imagine if they didn't have the capability of making things from the Magic Cave, then they may not have got it off the ground.
Right.
So then he got the approval to do that. They put it out there. There are a lot of letters in the State Library that refer to other family businesses in the city writing afterwards to congratulate the Hayward family on what a great thing they had done for the state. And hope that it would continue, and it did, except for 4 years in the war years.
It would have been a sort of a great moral boost, wouldn't it, to the local community?
I think so, and I think that that's what it's all about now. You know, there's a lot of wonderful messages out there in the pageant. It's about community, it's about families. For example, we don't sell little toys and things along the pageant route. Because you know, one child might not be able to afford that and somebody else might. So there's this sense of equality out there that lives on.
It's a bit of a corny old expression, I suppose, a visual feast, but that's what it is, isn't it?
Well, it is, and it's a massive artistic exercise because I think it's probably one of the first artistic experiences that any child would have in South Australia.
Yeah, is it the biggest pageant that we have in Australia? Or?
It's actually the biggest of its kind in the world. So, for example, Toronto, which would be probably the next in line, or Macy's, they have, or Toronto has 23 floats. We've got 69 floats out there. So it's enormous.
Does it grow then every year? Do you have new floats every year? Or
we do have new floats.
You change them, I know.
Yeah, we take some out and put some in. That's probably the hardest decision, is the floats to take out.
And revamp a bit here and there.
Yeah, and that's sort of based on both cost and popularity, and sometimes we have to take out a popular float because it's, you know, there was one float that we took out and we decided to take it out, but as we were about to deconstruct it, it fell over.
Did it?
So it sort of just went...
I like the word deconstruct.
It sort of went...
That's a deconstruct.
Dear. There was one, sorry Malcolm to interrupt, but there was a competition recently about children putting in a particular float. Wasn't there? Sorry,
every second year that we have a mini float competition, I think you're talking about that. And the mini float competition gives all the schools an opportunity to participate. So we get about 400 entries, and then we have to go through and work out the winner. And the winning entry this year was Get Well Soon. And it's about Band-Aid the teddy, who's patched up.
Yeah,
and,
it's lovely. Did you see that, guys? There was something in the paper recently.
So the thought wasn't just about what would be good in the pageant, it was also a message out to those who couldn't get to the pageant, which is terrific.
But that's also something you've done. You've included a lot of community organisations and schools and all sorts of other people, whereas it used to just be employees of the store, wasn't it, of the John Martin store?
Yes, it was the employees of the John Martin store.
They used to rehearse on the roof.
They did.
Where do you rehearse now?
Well,
of the shop.
We rehearse at the credit union's lunchrooms, and they open it up, or one of their board meetings or meeting rooms. And so we get each float in there, we talk them through it, we get a video of the previous year's float, we talk them through characterisation. We get very little time. So, for example, you know what it takes to rehearse a show. Well, I get about 20 minutes per float with these people, so we're really thinking fast.
These are the people both on the float and walking with the floats?
Yes. And so Alice in Wonderland, for example, has about 20 different characters.
Yep.
So you quickly go through and say, right, you're the Mad Hatter. You've got to watch. You've got a Mad Hat. You talk to them about craziness and that they're, you know, who are all these people out here at this party? I thought there were only 10 coming to the party. Now, that might not read to everybody, but if the person's got an intention, then at least there's something to read.
Well, we've all got that storytelling ability within it. We've got some great shots of the pageant,
Yep.
which we should have a look at because this is a good aerial shot. This is...
Oh, that shows the crowds. They're just growing enormously.
It's wonderful.
Just as we're approaching into
Victoria Square.
Victoria Square. That's the beautiful police greys. They lead the pageant every year. Police have a wonderful support mechanism for the pageant with people police officers lining the streets. It's terrific. That was new last year, which is the Snow Dome, a very popular float.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they're the things we're thinking about. This is a relatively new float as well, isn't it?
Yes, that took a bit to get into the parade
They're
because
kids from my school.
Are
The
they?
back of them, yes.
Is that right?
They are. In
They
fact.
are. That's
They
it.
are.
That's your guys. Yeah.
Yes.
And they're regulars in the pageant. They do a great job. There's Father Christmas on the landing stage. Look at the crowds down there. It's just
Yes.
enormous. And
Yeah.
It's pop star
that mob
status.
is also the other side.
Yes.
That's the arrival, so he's not far from the landing stage there.
I think the mechanics of the reindeer are just wonderful.
Yeah, just subtle, but
Yeah.
bring it to life.
Yeah.
They do bring it to life, and it's such an
Look at
important
that.
childhood memory.
Those people. That's
enormous.
incredible.
Brian, where is that? Which street is that?
That's King William Street from South Terrace to Victoria Square. And so they are like that on
okay.
both sides of the route pretty much all the way through.
Well, really, the CBD of the city for people
Is in
in
the
interstate
background.
is in the background.
Yeah.
And if you get a bit of a close-up of that, which you can't do here, I don't think, but if you bring that photo in, right on the other side of Victoria Square, you see the rest of the parade going around.
Around the corner.
Onto
King
North
William
Terrace.
Street coming
Just
out of
see
Granville
that,
Street.
Oh,
yeah, right
okay.
in the middle.
There you
Oh,
are.
That's my beautiful daughter, Bridget.
who's the one with the clown makeup? Next to your
Bridget.
daughter.
Oh, that one, the one with the purple hat.
Sorry, I wasn't quite fast enough. Exactly. Oh, it's nice to know you're official.
So, clowns play a big part in the pageant. They bring a lot of fun and they sit between each of the floats. So there are 182 performing theatrical sets. And so the clowns are sets, the bands are sets, and a float is a set. So we
Right.
try and educate the credit union people. Tail end Charlies, they hold the back end of the float together. The front ones help the drivers keep the 30-metre
keep
space.
to move, yes.
And so we have this set moving along like so. If they break off the ends, then we lose the strength of the set.
Yes,
And it works really well.
because it's
so
a flow.
much to think about.
Well, I've been to the briefings with Brian, which he does very well, and explains the need to do that, which is right, of course. You don't want the public watching the parade pass by. You want the parade to keep passing
Keep
by.
going, yeah,
you don't
of
want it
course.
to stop
Stop
or
and
have a big
start.
gap.
No,
So
of course.
it makes perfect sense. Brian, how did you come into directing? Well, your official title is...
Creative director and manager of the pageant, of the
Right.
Credit Union Christmas pageant.
So from an opera singer on world stages to doing this, it's quite a interesting jump.
Yeah, and I think at that time I probably struggled with that decision, and I sort of sat down one day and said, who are you? What are you? And I realised that the answer was...
Say that again. You sat down and you thought...
Who are you? What are you? Are you? Yeah,
Sorry.
very quick.
Sorry,
That's
sorry.
that's sort of a dad
Should
joke,
have done
isn't
that
it?
faster. It is a dad joke, but then we're that old.
So the answer came to me then, I'm a father. So to travel and sing, I thought, because somebody put this on my table and said, you should go for this. And I didn't really want to start with because I thought I still had a lot of singing left in me. So I thought, no, to be at home, this would give me the opportunity to be at home, so I'll give it a shot. And I said to them, I still need to sing and do other things.
Yeah.
So I got the role.
But you have to have that part of your life too to be creative enough to involve so many people in this. You have to be inspired to do both, really.
Yeah, and a lot of it came together because I was a lawyer for several years before I went off to Europe and sang, and then and I still did a bit of law when I came back. So all of the businessy sort of things that I learnt in the law, because there's a lot of business behind the pageant.
Of course.
The creative side of it. So it sort of all came together. And then I sort of saw things in the pageant that I would like to theatricify, is that the word?
No, it sounds
Theatricalise.
The pageant, so that it didn't just walk and wave like many pageants in the world. I wanted it to be street theatre.
Do you know, I guess there's probably two questions that people want to know. How do I get into a pageant?
Oh,
how do I get into something?
But they're all
like that?
volunteers, aren't they?
They're volunteers, but the credit unions, as part of their incredible sponsorship, they'll be 20 years sponsoring it this year. And so they provide, as part of that sponsorship, 1,000 people. So the majority of the characters...
Whether they want to or not.
Oh, they're just lining up and chafing at the bit. So you've got all of those people, and they... the credit union coordinators help us with that, so they're almost like casting agents. So they know what characters. We've got these books. If you put the book together, it's about that thick, and it's got all of the roles, the sizing.
That you're looking for.
Yeah, the special shoes, if there's special shoes, all accessories, all of that listed. So they look at it and they think, oh, Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Now that could be George and Harry from finance. So they go down and say, well, do you want to be Tweedledee and Tweedledum this year?
Okay.
Yeah, sure. And then it's great because I come along to rehearsals and I look around the room and I think, oh, there's Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Brilliant. There's the Queen. There's and usually they've got it right.
Well, I guess the other thing is people can obviously get videos of this afterwards, or
they can.
Are
yes.
you looking at new ways of exposing the pageant, like online in some way, or?
Yes, we've run competitions the last 2 years, and this year's just finished, which is to Everybody's a Star is this year's pageant theme. So story from friends and relatives around the country to say so-and-so's a star because of. So it's not about star as in star in the theatre. It's about everybody has something to offer. Everybody has a gift.
Absolutely,
there is a star in everyone. And so, there are a lot of great messages.
Finding a star.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the next one.
Yes.
Let yourself shine.
Well, what would we do?
Well, we should be there, Janice. You could be the Queen of Hearts.
I could be, Malcolm.
Could.
And you could be?
The philandering king.
There you go.
Because the king does philander in the pageant a little bit.
Of philandering.
Okay.
Next year, Brian.
Fantastic. Well, it's coming up soon, so everybody should look forward to that, and we certainly all do here.
And everybody around Australia can see it, can't they?
Yes.
It telecast
Yes, it goes
all around
live
Australia?
this year.
On the Nine Network.
On the Nine Network, on the Gem, on Gem. So that's the first time it's gone live nationally,
Wow.
which is fantastic, very exciting. It used to go as a replay. But that's really exciting, and with that competition, pageants and pandas, get your families across and come and see the pandas.
Well, it's all of those things.
Yeah.
It's the preamble to the pageant and seeing Father Christmas arrive and all of those things.
Exactly.
It's unique to South Australia, but can be shared all around the country. Brian, thank you so much. Congratulations on the past efforts. I hope everything goes well this year for you.
Thank you very much, and thanks to the massive team that works on it. I think there's over 4,000 South Australians that actually touch this pageant behind the scenes, including all of your police and services and the volunteers. So it's a big effort to bring it to everyone.
Well,
Thank
good
you.
luck with it all.
Janice, coming up next is Sue Barron.
Yes, Sue Barron.
Sue Cardwell. It used to be Sue Barron because years ago, Sue and I were the voices behind the pageant.
You were
commentating,
too.
yes, commentating on watching everything go past. So we'll be back with Sue and Book Club.
Hello everyone, and it's time for Book Club. I'd like to welcome our Book Club members. Tash Turner, of course, who is a librarian. Welcome to Book Club today. Jill Ireland, who's a wine training management person, but she loves reading, don't you?
I do.
Loves reading.
Indeed.
And Maria, of course, who's our resident teacher. And today we're going to be talking about a book that I found quite challenging. I have to say, this book called Claiming Noah, which is a new book. I don't know whether hopefully some of you at home have already had a look at it. It's written by Amanda Ortleb. What if your child belonged to someone else? And one would immediately think, well, how could that be? But of course, this brings us into the whole topic of embryos and the management of embryos and the adoption of embryos and all the legalities, and it's something that's troubled me for quite a while. Tash, how did you feel about this book?
And then I thought less about the embryo adoption situation and got more involved with the postnatal depression. We're all mums here,
Yes.
and that was something that affected me, and so I could really relate to that part of the characters. Sort
Yes.
of. But I thought it was really interesting because there were twists in it at the end that you weren't expecting. I think with the character development, it was quite good. But again, it's those moral dilemmas, isn't it?
Jill,
Yeah.
for you?
Well, I think I'm becoming the resident cynic. To me, I didn't find there were surprises. I thought it was totally predictable.
Yeah, I have to say
and
that, yeah.
I found myself ho-humming and skipping a few paragraphs trying to get to the important aspect. I thought the subject was very interesting and very serious, but I think it could have gone kind of into a little bit more of the ethical side of things. I found some of the characters totally, really unbelievable.
Very simplistic, weren't they?
Yeah, and you kind of knew what they were going to do.
Yes.
You go, no, please don't do that.
Exactly.
And then, Spencer, for example,
you could see what was going to happen.
I knew
So just
what was
to
happening.
recap, before we talk to Maria about it, we're talking about it'll have on the back of the book, a young couple who have IVF because they're having difficulty getting pregnant. There's also a problem there in that the mother, Catriona, doesn't really want to have this baby, and I think that's the underlying issue with the postnatal depression. And there's another couple equally having problems, and so the first couple have one successful pregnancy and decide that they'll let someone else have the other embryo, the one that's left over. And so it's adopted out. It's a bit tricky when you think about that, just adopt the embryo. But this embryo is implanted in the second couple, in the woman, and is successfully born.
But there was all those series of coincidences, how did they manage to bypass the law which said they had to wait for the
Well,
adoption?
that's true, but then you wouldn't have had a story if they didn't.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
If you
Maria,
didn't
the
jump the
characters,
truth
how
a
did
little bit.
I looked at more of the characters, and like Jill, I found it very predictable. But I felt for the mothers when they both lost child, and how would I thought, how would I feel if that happened to me?
Would you have done what Diana did at the end? Would you have sort of extended her hand to the other mother when she got custody? Would you have extended the hand?
I was actually thinking, why don't you just move next door and so you can have custody of the child together?
Together.
Did you have that moment where you were thinking I thought the judge was going to almost do a Solomon thing, like
Cut the baby in half.
You have it 1 week.
not quite cut it in half, but neither of you can have this child or something, and see whether what real maternal love was.
So what I got to the end, it was more like, maybe they should get a house together and live next door to each other and share the child.
Because
Well, they both
thought of it.
had very sorry excuses for husbands. Didn't
they
they?
did.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
I could
So-
see them becoming a couple of females bringing up the female child.
Well, see, that would have been a really interesting twist.
Wouldn't it have been?
That would have sucked me in. I would have gone.
That would have been an interesting twist. But what did you think of the epilogue
where
Noah writes the little epilogue where he kind of brings
I thought
it all,
that was cool,
ties it
yeah.
all together?
Yeah.
Well, he did bring it all together, didn't he?
I thought that, as a teacher reading it, I thought that was really good the way he wrote it.
Yes,
So, with a family tree, and then his other mum helped him out as well. So
he ends up with both mothers actually.
And I think women are more inclined to do something like that because they can see that, they can empathise maybe a little bit more with the loss of a child, that, they can see that they'd both want to still be involved with the child.
And the fact that they both loved this child made them understand the importance of them. The child's interest was at the best there, so they both wanted what was best. In terms of the characters, I mean, the period, the book is written over a period of about 4 years, I think, roughly 4 years, because it starts before the pregnancies. So, who do you think, in terms of characters, Catriona and Diana, who developed the most emotionally there?
Catriona.
Catriona?
One of them, she's had an episode and she's gone to a psychiatric hospital. So, she's had to develop quite a little bit along the way. But
Yes.
But with that one, it also shows how many people are on antidepressants, and
Yes.
it's not only after having a child. There's people with everyday life they can't cope, that they need antidepressants to survive.
But
so it's another
didn't
way.
she also become, to me, she grew into actually a likeable character?
Yeah.
Catriona,
Whereas
yes,
to begin
yes.
with, there was nothing
I didn't like
really
her at the beginning.
No,
very
at the
nice
beginning,
about
no.
her.
Because I thought it was all about me. I don't want this for the child. The child's doing this. It's like,
yes.
hey, it's a kid.
Yes, she did come to terms with that in the end, and it was nice that she kind of. I mean, Spencer was the dead loss. He was the fly in the ointment, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Look, it's
the
an
men
interesting
didn't get a
book.
good rap in this book
No,
today.
they didn't.
James was a bit kind of
Yes.
weird as well.
Yeah, he was very intense. He really was very intense. But look, it's an interesting book, and would you recommend it to people to read?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jill? Not sure.
Yeah, it depends how long you've got and how many other books
Yeah.
you've
I
got
saw it as
waiting for you. But
a chick book,
Chick
whatever.
book. Okay, not
So-
too. Okay, so hopefully you might have a chance to have a look at this book, Claiming Noah. We'll look forward to having some comments from you perhaps on Facebook sometime. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you girls for being here, and we'll see you next time.
It's great to have Cassandra Zana, who is our resident physiotherapist, and our great friend Susan here and Alistair there. What are we looking at today? Oh, I've got a sore back.
Well, actually, this is the right day for you then, because we're looking at low back and how to keep it nice and supple and strong.
Fantastic. Where do we do that? What do we do? Do
Well,
we need to lay down for these, by the way?
Not all of them, but this again, this is just a gentle way to start. If you are feeling
I just thought they were
sore-
lazy and laying on the floor.
So we're going to start off with hugging one knee into the chest.
I love you, knee. I love you.
Exactly, and you can actually bend your head up to kiss your knee if you want to stretch
There you
a bit
go.
more.
I love you. I love you. I love
Okay,
you.
and relaxing down, and then we're going to take both legs up. Obviously, usually you'd be alternating there.
Yes, and you do this more than once, by the way. We're
That's
just
right.
showing
5
you.
to
We're
10
not telling you it's only
repetitions.
once. 5 to 10.
And then we're just going to do some little circles of the knee, and you'll feel the tailbone just rolling on
Yes,
the floor.
I know what you mean there.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's quite a nice one. We're going to now come up into a stretch position. So Sue's going to come up into a cross-legged sitting position, and Al's knee's a little bit stiff, so he's going to have wide leg
Can we
position.
at the same time?
You can if you want to. And then we're going to bend to the side. So bending to the right-hand side to stretch through the left. Or Al will go the other way. That's great, a bit more space. So this just stretches all the side muscles through the body.
Anybody who's ever done dance or ballet classes will recognise a
Will be
lot of
very
these
good.
stretches
Absolutely.
because they're all the things you do to develop your strength, your core of your body.
Definitely.
But the nice idea that I'd never thought of was to do this on the bed at home.
Yes, exactly.
Don't have
And
to go anywhere.
exactly. So you can do it in the comfort of your own bedroom.
Yes.
Now we're going to do some stretches for the muscles at the back. So bending over the left leg, so going off to the front and the side towards the left, and this will stretch through that right-hand side of the body. It's quite a nice stretch. So you, again, stay there for a few moments, walk your hands back up, and then make your way down over the front of the right leg.
And always do both sides, don't favour
Yep,
one side.
Absolutely, and then you come back and go into the centre. So what we're going to look at after this is a bit more of a mobilising stretch. So Sue and Alistair are going to lie on their tummy and do what you've probably heard of as a cobra stretch. So lots of people in yoga would do this. And you can either just come up onto your elbows or come right up onto your hands for
You
a spot
breathe in
stretch.
at the same time or exhale
It's good to inhale as,
As
you're
you
coming
come
up
up
and
and then-
get that full lung
Yep.
expansion.
and hold your breath for a few minutes.
And just sort of breathe
Seconds, I mean,
lightly there.
not
That's
minutes,
it.
not
and
minutes.
then relaxing down.
Seconds. This is good to go to sleep with, you know.
Well, yeah.
You do this 5 or 6 times.
Before you go to bed,
Yep.
yeah. And just to finish with, Alistair's going to hop into a comfortable position, and Sue's going to show us a slightly more advanced stretch. So Al's hopping into this position, lovely for hips and backs.
And as they do, once again, thank you so much, and we hope this has been really helpful to you.
Adjusted.
Oh, has he?
So I think he has.
Oh, hopefully
he's feeling much better.
Wonderful job, wonderful job.
You're feeling better now.
Well, I didn't do much, really, did I?
You're okay?
Not hard, yes. Not hard to do anything when you're just standing talking.
Absolutely.
They're great people. Hey, we'd love to know where and when people are watching us.
As in our viewers from interstate.
Yeah.
Well, for everywhere.
Well,
Everywhere.
yeah, here and interstate.
Yes.
But also what time?
Yes.
So what are their favourite times to watch?
Yes,
and where they are?
favourite times to
On
watch.
Facebook.
That's a good,
Yeah.
because doing a program like this, it's not surveyed like the regular stations are,
Yeah.
and so we don't get statistics as to when people are watching, the time of day that is, and in which state or capital city they're watching.
So how are you saying you'd like to hear from these people? Through Facebook?
Facebook.
Now, people look at Facebook, we know that because we can see that somebody's logged on to have a look. But it would be great if we actually had something from you to say, we're watching at this time in Sydney or
Yeah.
this time in Melbourne or wherever you're
Good
watching.
idea.
We'd like to know.
And Sue, it's lovely that you could join us and that you're back to normal again.
Back to normal, fine. And the book we did today was fascinating. Fascinating.
And we've got to go.
Oh, really? Okay.
So until next time, keep yourself nice till then.
Join us then.